Good afternoon, everyone, especially to our respected panels. Welcome to the second reporting on GL 104 mineral deposits. To start with, let me introduce ourselves. I am Wilkinay Taguba, and together with me is Ms. Wella May Rosales. We will be the presenters for today's report. Meanwhile, Ms. Dara Suarez and Ms. Lalaine Ligad will be the one to answer the questions. We are the COO group, and we're going to present our Philippine assigned deposit and its global counterpart. This is the outline for our presentation. The first part is the geology, followed by the mineralization characteristics, and then the mineralization history, and lastly, the comparison with the global counterpart. Let's begin with the question, what is an epithermal deposit? Well, the term epithermal derives from the Greek words meaning nearby heat, referring to the fact that epithermal deposits originate within 1,000 meters of the crust surface. Temperatures are often between 100 to 300 degrees Celsius. The epithermal gold deposits can be broken down into three main subtypes. The subtypes are high sulfidation, intermediate sulfidation, and low sulfidation. And today, our Kuo deposit is characterized as low to intermediate epithermal deposits. All information presented in our report are based on these two articles. Now, let's talk about the study of the deposit, the rocks and minerals of which it is made, the structure of those minerals that have changed over time, and the processes acting upon them. Of course, we are all aware of how the Philippine archipelago was formed, and that it has been active and formed through time by plates converging in numerous directions. The Eurasian, Philippine Sea, and Indo-Australian plates. We can see on the map the major sinister strike-slip fault that extend the entire Philippine archipelago, the Philippine Fault. Now, the small black rectangle that we can see on the southern part of the fault is where our study area is situated. Between this place or the spread of the Philippine Fault is where the Rosario Tubunawan district, which incorporates to our assigned Philippine deposit. Now, zooming in, this is the simplified geologic map of the Rosario Tubunawan district with the Coal mine and the various gold prospects. In this district, gold is produced from the Coal mine. There are five prospects surrounded by the Coal mine, namely the Tagabaka, Gamuton, Sinugang, Anuling, and lastly the Tambis prospect. Currently, the Coal mine being operated by the Philsaga Mining Corporation, which is a Philippine subsidiary of the Medusa Mining. Now, what are the structural evolution responsible for the formation of the Coal mine? Based on the studies, the gold mineralization in Coal mine has been controlled by four deformation events associated with the major structures. These are early deformation, deformation 1, deformation 2, and deformation 3, where lateral and frontal ramps, trending faults, and vein in the radial geometry are present. We already know about the geologic events happened, and we are mindful that ore can accumulate through geologic activity. So we will now engage in which a deposit of ore is created and what are the characteristics of the minerals found in our study area. Since our study is characterized as an epithermal deposit, which ore deposits are at shallow depth, it has been found that the host rocks are fine-grained, volcanic and volcanic classic rocks consisting of basalt, diorite, dacite, and andesite porphyries, all in torn, cut, and overlain by a diatreme mark complex typified by polymictic volcanic breccias. So because of the deformation that had occurred, these also influenced the chemical and physical changes in the system that shifted one mineralization stage to another. There are three mineralization stages in the Kuo mine. Stage 1 is represented by the barren quartz pyrite-dominated black silica, which occurs mainly near the vein selvages. Stage 2, the quartz chalcedony calcite sericide assemblage, formed as the dominant filling of most of the auriferous veins. If such veinlets come into contact with the cavities from stage 2, the cavities are filled with calcite barite pyrite, forming the stage 3 assemblage. Stage 1 and stage 2 are highly auriferous and the most important with respect to the economic gold mineralization. Moving forward, the multi-stage assemblages of the minerals will now be classified by their ore texture. Specifically, stage 1 are quartz with a very fine grain, cross-hats, and disseminated laminated pyrite that is responsible for the black color. The quartz forms pseudomorphs after bladed calcite. In stage 2, the minerals range in the crystal shape from blocky to elongated. It is also massive and fibrous in texture. If the crystal shape is well developed, chalcedony grains is geomorphic, showing a syntactial growth into open space. And lastly, stage 3 is a textural ranging from blocky bladed to coliform. Identification of the mineral assemblages and textures found has been demonstrated in the Ku'o, which is characterized by structurally controlled early-stage hydrothermal breccias and main-stage epithermal quartz veins. The deposit is characterized by tabular ore bodies with vein mineralization along faults and fractures, often inclined with a footwall and hanging wall, and is characterized by pinch and swell structure. Based on the orientation of the Ku'o mine, two different vein sets are distinguished. First is the east-northeast to west-southwest trending set, and second is the west-northwest to east-southeast or east-to-west trending conjugate set. The deposition of the economically relevant minerals in the development of ore bodies by various processes is documented in the history of mineralization. At the Ku'o mine, an analysis revealed a hydrothermal alteration mineralogy that is dominated by white micas. The distribution of illite in all samples from the different hydrothermal alteration zones in the Ku'o mine implies that the hydrothermal alteration is related to mixing of descending near neutral ground and meteoric water, which is supergene, with ascending hydrothermal fluids at lower temperature and characterized as hypogene. The absence of illite in the veins, the high abundance of lower-ordered white micas in the proximal to intermediate hydrothermal alteration zone, and the rare occurrence of chlorite in the proximal zone represents a distinct vector to gold mineralization in the Ku'o deposit. When integrating the ore and gang mineralogy, three types of veins are observed in the Ku'o mine deposit. Stage 1 veins displace pyrite and chalcopyrite. Stage 2 vein sulfides are mainly located between the quartz mosaics and locally between quartz and calcite grains. Stage 3 veins have sulfides that are mainly observed in quartz or boundaries between quartz and calcite veins. The electrum in stage 2 veins is mainly in textural equilibrium with sphalerite, acanthite, chalcopyrite, and locally pyrite and galena. In stage 3, gold and electrum are in textural equilibrium with chalcopyrite, pyrite, acanthite, and minor sphalerite, galena, and jalpate. An evolution model is used when determining the sequence of events or depositional history within an ore body. During D1, extensional shear veins form in the Ku'o, Palawan, and the Philippine Fault Trends. The Ku'o Trends conjugate veins open along a near vertical north to north-northeast plunging opening vector. On a district scale, it's probable that the auriferous veins in the Gomuton and Tagabaka prospect, as well as the Ku'o mine, were shifted right laterally by north to south, tending D3 faults. In general, all the discussions of the relationship between specific alteration assemblages, other structural and mineralogic aspects, begin with a specific system. Epithermal deposits with low sulfidation are made up of a mix of magmatic and meteoric water. The deposition of gold and silver of high-grade ore shoots is associated with the process of fluid boiling. So why did they conclude that the Ku'o is a low to intermediate sulfidation? It is because all of the polymitic diatreme breccia, intrusive and volcanic rocks associated with the Ku'o deposit exhibit the low to intermediate degree of alteration.
It's very interesting to learn about our Philippine mineral deposit, but how about comparing it to its global counterpart? The geology, mineralization characteristics, mineralization history, and comparison of the Philippine deposit will be also discussed in the following slides. The Ku'o deposit will be compared to the Xinguang deposit from China. The Xinguang deposit is a large epithermal deposit in China. Adjacent to the Xinguang deposit are the Tongshan and the Daobaoshan porphyry copper deposit, all situated in the Daobaoshan ore field inside the Central Asian orogenic belt. The study identified the Xinguang deposit as an intermediate sulfidation epithermal deposit formed around 480 mega-annum in a continental arc setting controlled by subduction of the Paleo-Asian Ocean. A total of 131 ore bodies in the form of veins, lenses, and pans have been delineated in the Xinguang Gold Deposit, mainly hosted in the andesite and andesitic tuff of the Daobaoshan Formation. These are the photomicrographs showing the typical textures and occurrences of gold from the Xinguang Gold Deposit. Pyrite is the most abundant metallic mineral and generally coexists with various amounts of galena, bornite, spharilite, and chalcopyrite. The ore mineral assemblages of the area comprise dominant pyrite, chalcopyrite, galena, spharilite, and hematite. Minerals particularly closely associated with gold are pyrite, chalcopyrite, galena, and spharilite. Looking at the screen, we can see that Xinguang deposit is divided into 4 ore zones, clockwise according to the trend of clustering. The highest gold grade was found in the number 2 ore zone, and it is the most economically important ore zone in the deposit. The number 1 ore zone is the second most significant, whereas ore zone 3 and 4 are relatively small and occur in the west of the ore district. The tectonic evolution in the early Paleozoic era in the Daobaoshan happened before 506 mega-annum. A wide ocean, possibly a branch of Paleo-Asian Ocean, with some island arcs existed. The Arguna and Xing'an has a persistent northwestward subduction. During 506 to 475 mega-annum, the Xing'an block and Arguna block has finally collided. And because of the subduction happened in Paleo-Asian Ocean, this also affected the deposits and created chemical and physical changes in the system. 450 mega-annum, a newly formed subduction regime was developed. Now, because of those collisions and sustained subduction, large magmatic complex developed in the lower crustal zone gave rise to evolve the associated mineralization, forming the heat source for the Xinguang deposit. The mineralization time of the Xinguang deposit is nearly identical to those of the Daobaoshan and Tongshan deposits, indicating they all derived from the same metallogenic system. Now, based on the mineral assemblages, cross-cutting relationship of the minerals veins or vinelets, and textural characteristic of the ore minerals, 5 hydrothermal stages have been identified. First is the chlorite magnetite specularite stage. Second is the quartz pyrite stage. Third stage is quartz polymetallic sulfide stage. Fourth is carbonate polymetallic sulfide stage, and the last stage is quartz carbonate stage. The Xinguang gold deposit was formed in a porphyry to epithermal transitional environment associated with the concealed tonalite porphyry, which may be a part of Daobaoshan ore system. Hydrothermal fluids were released and accumulated above the tonalite porphyry intrusions. When the increasing pressure of the fluids was greater than that of the overlying Daobaoshan formation, crypto-explosion took place. Chlorite, epidote, magnetite, and specularite were quickly formed in the process, and a large amount of reduced sulfur was released at the same time. Following this early mineralization event, the quartz pyrite, quartz polymetallic sulfide, carbonate polymetallic sulfide, and quartz carbonate were sequentially formed with decreasing of temperature and pressure of ore-forming fluids. The vinlet dissemination sulfide mineralization and hydrothermal vein-type mineralization occurred in the andesitic stuff and andesite of the Daobaoshan Formation as the hydrothermal fluids ascended the main faults and fractures. Finally, here is a simplified comparison of geological characteristics of Ko'o deposit and Xinguang deposit. In the epithermal classification, Xinguang is an intermediate sulfidation while Ko'o is low to intermediate sulfidation. They also differ in ore and host rock formation. The geologic terrain of Xinguang deposit took place in continental arc setting while the Ko'o was island arc setting. They also differ in ore controlling structure. In Xinguang, northwest to southeast trending thrust fault, and northeast to southwest trending tensional fault, and in Ko'o, northeast, west-southwest trending set. The Xingwang deposit has a veined, branch, and other irregular shape of ore body, while Ko'o has veined and irregular shape of ore body. They also contain different ore minerals for the ore texture, metasomatic relic texture, and emulsion texture for the Xingwang, and Ko'o contain crosshatch, pseudomorphs, massive, fibrous cavities, blocky, bladed, and coliform banding. The tectonic regime of the Xingwang is compressional, while compressional to transpressional for the Ko'o deposit. Xingwang deposit has a larger ore reserve than Ko'o, but Ko'o has higher grade. The studies confirm that the Ko'o deposit is one of the oldest epithermal gold deposit in the Philippines, while Xingwang deposit is the oldest epithermal gold in the world. Discussion has finally ended. Thank you everyone for listening.